Okay, so let's try putting some of these pieces together to build a prompt. Let's do an article summarizer, a Wikipedia summarizer, some sort of summarizer to start. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I have a large article that I've copied the text of onto my clipboard. It's an article it's from TechCrunch, the startup Anthropic, I don't know how you actually say it. It's a sort of an OpenAI competitor that has just raised a big round, Series C of $450 million. But it's a much longer article. I want to get the key points, but I don't want to have to read them all myself. So what I'm going to do is ask ChatGPT to do it. And, this could be honestly useful, especially if you save the prompt somewhere, then you can just rerun it with a different article each time. So I would start with our initializer, right? What's the initial context? Where I'm going to say you are or act as a article summarizing assistant. Okay. And then the next step is going to be the actual instructions. I will provide you with the text of a news article, and I'd like you to generate a summary. Act as an article summarizing assistant. Now what I'm going to do is give it the constraints. So I could give it the article first. This is something I see people do sometimes, where they'll put here is the article, and then put the article in here, and then at the very end say, make sure the summary is X and Y, 200 characters, has bullet points, no more than 10 sentences, whatever the rules are. I find that it's much better to put your input data as the last thing whenever possible. There's less chance of it getting confused, so I can put all of my sort of prompt instructions up top, the constraints, and then at the end, give it the data. So up here, I'll set my constraints, and it's up to us, but I'm thinking I want, some bullet points, so I'm going to tell it that. I'd like you to generate the summary. The summary should let's start with should include maybe a 2-sentence overall summary, and then also include 4 to 6 bullet points summarizing the key aspects, the key points of the article. Okay, we can start with that. So we have our initial scene setting. We have the actual instructions. I want you to make me a summary. And then we have the specific constraints. A 2-sentence overall summary, and also 4 to 6 bullet points summarizing the key points of the article. Your total output, and then I'm going to say should not exceed 200 words, 100 words, 120 words, some limit there. So I don't want a massive summary. And then finally, I'll say here is the article text and provide that text. And then I can just paste it in. I like to definitely do it on a new line. And what you'll see some people do is actually separate their input data from the rest of the prompt using a character like this, or some of the documentation on OpenAI will use hash symbols, octothorpes. Anything works. It's just a way to differentiate the stuff I'm saying versus the actual article content. Then I'll place or paste the article in there, and I'll hit enter. And it'll take a little bit, but we should get a nice response. So here's our first summary. Generative AI startup Anthropic, co-founded by OpenAI veterans, has secured $450 million in a Series C funding round. Okay. And then we have the key points. What did we get? 5 individual bullet points. So a pretty simple example of writing a prompt, but it does include a lot of what we've just covered. So I'm not trying to tell you this prompt will change your life necessarily, but it includes the sort of act as or imagine, here's the context declaration, the initial context, an actual prompt, instruction, a query, some sort of task, summarize a news article, some constraints on the output and how it should be formatted, its length, and then some input.